Obviously, I've been talking about retiring for several years now. I wanted to get into sort of another stage of life where I'm not in the film business anymore and I don't have to run a corporation. And it occurred to me one day that the perfect person to take over the company was Kathy. It's just such a perfect fit. And I felt that I really wanted to put the company somewhere in a larger entity which would protect it. Disney is a huge corporation. They have all kinds of capabilities and facilities, so that there's a lot of strength that is gained by this. The great thing about Disney, again, as we were saying before, is that, it's between the parks and all the things they've got going. It's great that we have a chance probably to expand that, and there's lots and lots of opportunities at Disney that we wouldn't have at any other studio. I always said I wasn't going to do any more, and that's true, because I'm not going to do any more. But that doesn't mean I'm unwilling to turn it over to Kathy to do more. I can remember meeting her when I was at Warner Brothers, and she was John Milius's assistant, which was quite a job. Apocalypse was shot at the same time as Star Wars, so
yeah, because that's what John was doing.
Yeah, so it was the very beginning of Star Wars.
Yeah, that's right. I think that's the interesting thing about this series is that because so many of us work together, Frank, who I'm now married to because we met on the first Raiders.
Kathy and Frank, they met on the first Indiana Jones and then eventually got married, and Kathy's been working with Steven ever since. And so this is like a reunion of all of us coming back together again after all these years, and it's been a huge amount of fun. She had her own very successful career, her own successful company with her husband, making big movies. She had a very full career, and I didn't know that she wanted to have a change of life like I did.
What advice do you have for Kathy?
Good luck. No, I mean, I don't have to give Kathy advice. She knows what to do. She knows better than I do. So, that's the best part about this, is it's not somebody who I have to explain anything to. I've worked with Kathy for so many years. It is, at least like 35 years. Mm-hmm. And, in close producing together, just working together, and as friends, and, it's a great relationship. And it's just such a perfect fit, because she actually has all the qualities that are necessary to run a company like this that, make it great.
And he's taught me well to make all these decisions without him here. He told me years ago when he started that one of the reasons that I'm here is to make sure when he's not around that things go the way he wants. And so, I think it's a compliment to myself, my crew, to, the different divisions of Lucasfilm that he feels confident in all of us enough to say that he would retire. And then he's done a great thing for us as a company by bringing someone like Kathleen Kennedy on to, take over the reins. And I'm really excited about what she's going to bring to the table.
It is interesting that we have this whole world at Lucasfilm now where these films are getting made. And I think for me, what's most important, like any, student or Jedi, is to learn.
Yeah.
And while I've accomplished, I hope, a good deal doing what I've been doing in animation, there's a lot of things to learn about different types of production. And just frankly, to get to know some of these great storytellers, to talk, when I have gotten to talk to JJ or be it Ryan or Gareth.
You mentioned whether it's talking with JJ and Ryan and these guys, is being involved in the creative process in general with Lucasfilm, not just animation or live action, like the whole big thing, is that something that you'd want to do if offered the chance?
Sure. I stick my nose in here or there anyway. And they're really great about asking me to come and look at stuff. And then I, tell people what I think. And that's just any creative process, you want to get feedback. But I'm very excited about it. I've been really, the reason I got curious about doing live action was because I worked with George and he would explain it at length, and I got really interested in it. And Kathy knew I was interested in it when she came on board, and I think we found a really good place for me to land to contribute in a meaningful way. So I'm excited about that. And
I also have a feeling that everybody in this room knows that this guy is a rock star. to say, what could be more exciting than Dave Filoni directing live action?
It piqued my interest, and then when Kathleen Kennedy came on board and started running Lucasfilm, I expressed to her an interest in it, and so that started kind of a long education and observation where she made it possible for me to visit the film sets on the episodes 7 and 8 and Rogue One, and talk to Gareth and JJ a bit about what they were doing. Rian Johnson, I gotta say, was really instrumental for me as far as just grabbing me and getting me right up next to the camera with him and the DP and blocking a scene. And he was very supportive of my early efforts, because I'm the kind of person, if I show up on a big movie set, I just want to be invisible. I don't want to bother anybody. They have a lot to do. So it's kind of.
To point out, in terms of invisibility, Dave actually has a cameo in The Mandalorian.
I do.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
It's a funny thing, having been here a while and actually telling Star Wars stories. I'm in a very odd, unique position, which is that there's this notion that everything changed and when everything became Legends. And I can see why people think that. But, having worked with George, I can tell you that it was always very clear, and he made it very clear, that the films and the TV shows were the only thing that he considered canon. That was it. Mm-hmm. So everything else was a world of fun ideas, exciting characters, great possibilities. But the EU was created to explore all those things. And I know, and I fully respect people's opinion about it, that some of the material said the next canon part of it, okay. But from the filmmaking world that I was brought into, the TV series, the films were it. Mm-hmm. They were set in stone. So it was not a big change for me when everyone was saying everything's legend status now. I'm like, yeah, that's what I've always understood. It's all legend status.
And one of the things that George wanted to do right off the bat was he wanted to give Anakin Skywalker, kind of the great hero, the guy, a young girl apprentice. So there are several things challenging about that. Not the least of which is Anakin didn't even ever have in canon the idea that he had an apprentice, let alone that it would be a girl. I didn't care. I thought that's a great idea because I didn't want to just make Luke Skywalker again. I wanted a character that had different challenges and could have a different story than Luke. And we just created this character, and there was this funny assumption by a lot of people, because the older fans, they're complaining, why is this, you're making it for kids. That's the funniest thing anybody ever says to me, you're making Star Wars for kids. I'm like, yeah. Okay. How old were you when you saw Star Wars? And they're, the first time I saw Star Wars, I was 7 years old, and my dad took me, and I'm like, uh-huh. And you want to rob this experience from kids today, why? And make it all dark and sinister and evil? Okay. Anyway, back to Ahsoka. There's this assumption that young girls were going to like the character of Ahsoka. We relate that, right? Apples to apples. Of course, we make a young girl character, so all the young girls will like Ahsoka. It's almost to say, but what about the boys? This absurd notion. So what we found was this amazing thing. It will shock none of you. That when you create a strong, independent, intelligent character that shows no fear, that can do amazing things, boys and girls like her. That's what happens. I met so many boys, little boys, that would come to me and say, my favorite character is Ahsoka Tano because she's not afraid, because she's Anakin's friend, because she does things and she's a Jedi. That's the example that we wanted to set. And even with the older fans, I went from having a lot of these older guys who were like, why is it a girl? To being like, you're not going to kill her, are you? I'm like, why? Wow, you care. Suddenly you care. Why do you care? Well, she's just a really interesting character. Really? You're interested now, because before you were complaining. Yeah, well, that's before, we didn't know her as a character. I'm like, oh, wow, really? So you mean you shouldn't have judged this until you saw it? That's interesting. It's really interesting. And this is what we tried to do with the Star Wars saga now. We've tried to create more female characters who can represent so many things, because what we're trying to do isn't just create one type of character, We're trying to create a diverse range of characters, especially female characters that are strong, that are independent. When you look at Rey, on The Force Awakens, she's a female lead in a whole new chapter of the Star Wars saga. We haven't done a movie for 10 years, and here comes a Star Wars film, and here comes Rey. And what is it? Is it Panic in the Streets? Oh my gosh, a female lead in a Star Wars movie. And then the trailer for Rogue One comes out, and it's another female lead. Oh my gosh, how unfair. We've had probably like 2 million straight film cinematic roles where men have been leads, and now we've done 2 in a row that are women. Well, too bad. Oh well. Maybe there are more coming. I don't know. This is this idea that and I run into this sometimes when working with writers. It's like, well, we just made one of those. Made one of what? We just made a female lead. We can make another one. Really? Yes, we can. There's more than one woman in the world. There's more than one woman here in the world. Why is that so strange? If we made 5 men heroes in a row, no one would blink. See? And that's what I'm relating that to Stop Being a Girl. You see, you don't think about it. It's not the normal reaction. As you were saying the statistic earlier, 5 to 1. And if you have more women in the room, we up the percentage. I want to up that percentage in a huge way, but I also want to get these men that are in this privileged position to tell these stories right now to change their dynamic and to start looking at stories and characters to just make great, interesting characters and to stop doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. If that's your experience, fine, but we have to be a part of this change, at least I feel.
You have a great line, which is, so this is how liberty dies.
We're in the middle of it right now.
To thunderous applause. Exactly. It was a condemnation of populism in a science fiction context.
That's a theme that runs all the way through Star Wars.
I think science fiction is so good at these kind of social themes.
Yeah, the great thing about Star Wars is I had a thing, a vessel that I could throw anything into. Thank you, Bob. I'll first say you did a great job.
Thank you very much. Coming from you, that means a lot.
Well, it could have gone very bad, but it didn't. So now the technology is here. This thing is amazing. It's really something that you couldn't even dream about 20 years ago. So I hope you enjoy it. It was a great experience for me, and I think that you'll change your life. Thank you.
Thanks, George. Thank you.